How do we start this
I
guy?
don't even know.
All right.
We're back 1 year later.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crag Chat Climbing Podcast. Before we get too into it, I do want to, if you've been a listener of the show or a watcher of the show in the past, first of all, thank you. This is genuinely like one of my favorite things to do. I'm here with my friend Hannah, by the way. But secondly, you may have seen that I'm going to kind of be changing the format a little bit. For people that already listen, you know that like the show's pretty rambly and off topic, but I've decided to commit to the bit and make it even more rambly and off topic. So if you've enjoyed the climbing focused stuff in the past, that's awesome, but we're also going to be talking about some not so climbing focused things, and if that's not your thing, then that's cool, but if it is, then we love to have you here.
Welcome.
Thanks for
Stay
tuning
a while.
in. Yeah, this show started off for people that have listened like to the very first few episodes, and I know it's only like, I don't know, probably, I don't even know what episode it is. 20, I think?
Probably something around that.
But for people that listen to like early episodes with my friend Anna, this all started off with just an excuse to talk to a friend. So we're trending back that way. But Hannah was on last year.
Yeah, right around this time last year.
Was it?
I think so.
I know it was.
It was around the holiday season. I remember it being cold.
Yeah. And I asked her some questions. We barely knew each other.
I know, that's
It was like the first time that we really talked.
Had a long, an extended conversation outside of climbing with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember I left feeling just so like stoked about life.
Same.
So today I have a list of questions for Hannah. She has a list of questions for me. And I think we should just like kind of go back and forth.
I agree.
So my first question is, so we talked about a year ago, so what's climbing been like in the last year for you?
Honestly, a lot of the same. I set a lot of goals for myself this year climbing wise, and I think I nailed all but one of them, which was to learn ropes and learn leads specifically, which I did not actually take the time to do this year. But I did end up climbing outside. I sent my first 6/8. I sent a couple of 6/8s, which I'm stoked about. I flashed a 4.6, like all of these other goals, and I should specify V4, V6. Like this, my home gym uses grade ranges. So a lot of the same, just climbing harder, being more intentional about finger health in particular. Like I've been hangboarding a lot more, and it's so funny how like I'm nearing the 2-year mark of climbing for me. It'll be 2 years in March, and I love it just as much, but it's calmed down a little bit. I think the whole first year was this big, long honeymoon phase of like, I cannot spend enough time in the gym. And now it's more like, this is something that I genuinely enjoy and I'm going to prioritize it and make time for it. But I also have achieved a better balance of like, okay, well maybe I shouldn't be 5 days on anymore. Maybe I should like take it easy.
Yeah.
And you know, the gym or the outdoors, it's always gonna be there.
Yeah. I was literally just telling someone how the other day, or like 1 year, I hurt my finger, and it was because I had a set of friends that went to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and a set of friends that went Tuesday, Thursday. So I would go 5 days a week, and then I would climb on the weekends outside too.
Right.
And I literally would have like a day off maybe. And it's like, I don't know. It's good to be excited, but it's also like you gotta take care of yourself, says someone with currently some sort of finger injury here and some sort of finger injury here. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's at some point, it's not that the stoke died down, it's just I realized I had been sacrificing a lot of other things that I really love to prioritize climbing. And so, yeah, just a little bit more balance has been introduced back into my life. And I think my climbing is better for it. Like I feel a lot stronger and more capable now than I did a year ago, which makes sense because I've been training for, a solid year. But overall, just good things.
Yeah. Do you feel like some of the stoke has died down? So this is actually what I was gonna ask you a little bit later, but like, so I think that climbing's something I'm gonna do my entire life.
Same.
Like absolutely 100%.
Yes.
Unless I can't for whatever reason,
right.
like I will climb for
Right.
my entire life. Do you think that how do you think that in the future your like relationship with what's important to you in climbing will change? Because I feel like even now you're kind of hitting a point where like I know at the beginning like progressing through grades seemed very important to you, and like now that's harder and harder to do.
Right. Yeah, because I'm not trying to be a professional climber. I'm
Right.
not training for
You're not?
anything in particular. I'm not training for anything in particular. So I think my relationship with it now has just changed so much in the last like 6 months or so, when I realized like, oh, I'm gonna be at this point for a really long time.
We were just talking about like, so there's a video you sent me titled "The Average Climber Tries Intermediate
advanced
grade
climbing. Yeah.
And it like sparked a conversation on like what does the average climber, what grade do they climb?
Right.
And we kind of like both agreed it was around like V4.
Probably around V4.
Which is like not to say that if you don't climb V4 you're not an average climber, but like
right. Like across all climbers and abilities
in the US.
In the US, I would put money on V4 being like the general average.
Which made me think about.
Yeah.
So I was having this conversation with Sarah. What do you think? I'm so curious.
Okay.
What do you think is the highest grade you will ever climb?
Oh man.
Because I know what it is for me.
Okay.
I think that if I ever climbed, this is like, I would have to devote so much time and energy to it, but I think that if my life was nothing but climbing, I'd climb like V8. Like, I think that's like the highest grade I'd ever climb.
I would tend to agree. I think if I could get I think I would probably get a V8 if it was squarely in my style. Like it was crimpy, slabby, shouldery. I think I could probably send a V8. Because I've projected V7s before and I think sent a couple V7s.
Yeah.
But V9 is like, it's so.
Do you think that once you get a V8, like, do you
I'm
think
gonna want a V9?
No, but do you think that if you got a V8, do you think your opinion would change? Do you think you'd be like, well?
No, because for some reason, it's like the gap. So in my head, the gap from V3 to V4 is way larger than V4 to V5 or V2 to V3. Like between V3 and V4, there's somehow this kick up in both technique and strength that is just a lot more drastic than like V1, 2, or 3. And in my head, I have no context for this because I've never climbed a V8, but in my head, I imagine that the gap between a V8 and a V9 and then a V9 and a V10, those are all significant jumps.
Yeah. You don't think they're smaller because there's less?
I don't really. I think.
I don't know.
I don't know. In my head, that makes sense, but like I've climbed things that to me feel like V4, V5s, and then to other people could feel like V7s, when in reality, they're V6s on slab that are just very suited to my style.
Yeah.
But I don't think that can be very confused or a gray area anymore once you get to V8, V9, V10.
Yeah. I don't know if
that makes sense.
I was like really interested to hear your opinion on it because I feel like I feel like in all areas of your life, you're such like a driven, like a go-getter type of a person. Where I feel like, no, I like, you know that I mean that, but like, I just felt like I felt like you would say something like, I mean, I think that if I really committed to it, I could climb whatever.
No,
like,
see, I want to say like, if I ever send a V8, which I do think is within the realm of possibility, particularly at ICB, there are a couple of walls at ICB that I think I'm better at than here for some reason, and the setting style there is a lot different. But I think a V8 is within the realm of possibility, possibly for next year. I don't know if a V9 is ever going to be possible.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I won't try V9s,
Right.
but like realistically, if I'm not on some regular like strength training regimen and like actually dedicating myself to orient my entire life around
which you
achieving this
just
one
talked
thing,
about how you're like undoing that.
I don't know. I'm not as much of a grade chaser anymore as I am like I want to be able to on point or flash like any V4 to V6 problem. Like that's kind of my next goal, is just to be able to like show up as a very strong, confident climber in that range.
See, it's interesting to me because I remember, so like I think it's all about like your perspective too, because like and when I was climbing in Ohio, like the strongest people at my gym, granted our gym graded really difficult.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
But like the strongest people at our gym climbed like V6s, like, and so I always had this thought in my head, like, man, if I can ever climb V6, that's probably like the hardest grade that I'll ever climb. But like now that I'm here, I'm like, and like we said, grades are simple, but like, I was thinking about it, I was like, wow, like, I could send my first V6 this year indoors at the gyms here. Like, I could.
Right.
It might not happen. It might happen, but like, totally it's could. Like a weird, I don't know. I think I'm on the grade a year plan. So if I just keep climbing for so many years, you'll 20 years in, I'll climb the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah. And it's so funny too, because route grading is so much different than problem grading, and I have zero context of how I would fall in that, because I've climbed 1.58 in my life outdoors, and nothing indoors. It's just, I have no idea what my abilities are there, which is something that I am interested in finding out eventually. But the other thing I realized this year is like, man, I'm putting off learning this. I'm not super motivated to get outdoors and get the gear and everything. But I realized, like, okay, I see a lot of older people on ropes and not so many bouldering, which makes total sense. Like, there's a lot less risk for injury, and it's easier the joints.
No, bouldering is so much different than rope climbing.
And so I kind of want to milk my bouldering years for everything they have.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that doesn't mean I'm opposed to learning ropes and going outside and all that stuff. I mean,
that makes sense.
I love bouldering so much right now, and I'm like lucky enough to be able to do it. So
100%.
Why not lean into it?
Yeah, I know. I have to be like really careful to not like push not just on you, but like push my love of like outdoor climbing.
No, but if I were to go climbing outdoors, it would obviously be with you.
Right, and I know that. If you went climbing with anyone else outside besides me, I'd be like, what are you doing? You'd be like, we're not friends anymore. I'm kidding, but like,
literally.
But no, I know, like, because I feel similarly about people that like push trad. Like, they're like, trad is like the ultimate.
Right.
And then like, I feel like people do trad, and then it's like, no, man, alpinism is like the ultimate, and then it's like, no, man, you gotta do it without
ice
oxygen.
Or whatever. It's just
like it's just always like there's always
the next thing.
But I'm very excited.
Yes.
All right, should we go to one of your questions
Yes.
for me? All
Okay,
right.
so you talked at the beginning of the podcast about how the format of the show is changing, and I want to hear from you in general in the last year. How has your relationship with YouTube changed, and how has climbing affected that?
Yeah. So, I started YouTube when I lived in Ohio. Actually, kind of during the pandemic. I worked 3 days a week, and I just started it because like I wanted to make, like I've grown up making my entire life. And like this was a fun new thing that I was doing, and I felt like there wasn't a lot of content about like Ohio climbing specifically. And so that's kind of why I started it. And as I've gone on making content, like I started it making it for me and like just because I didn't know what else to do really, but like as it's gone on, it's become so much bigger than just fun little videos that I make. And at the end of the day, like that's what it is. But like I don't want to show up on YouTube in the way that everyone else is showing up on YouTube. And I know that's like maybe I don't mean that maliciously at all.
No, not at
I
all.
think,
Everyone is doing their own things.
Yeah.
You just want to do your own thing.
I think there's so many people that show up in so many cool ways on YouTube
Yeah.
already that why would I try to duplicate something and do it worse than what they're doing because
Right.
they're doing it incredibly.
Right.
And so your question was like how climbing has changed my relationship with
Yeah,
YouTube.
specifically in the last year, because I know you, when it comes to like the idea generation and the videos you want to make versus the videos that you sometimes have to make,
Yeah.
it's you've grappled with it in
Yeah.
this year.
So this year specifically, I think I can confidently say this is my favorite year of YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm the most proud of the things that I've made this year.
Dude, I love
Yeah.
that. That's so
Which is awesome because we've made a lot of it together.
We have made a lot of stuff together.
The reason that I am the most proud of my content this year is because the way that I've seen myself and how I fit into the climbing community, like I think that I've come to terms with how I fit in. And like my entire life, I've been like in athletics, in the athletic world. I've been, my coach in cross country like referred to me as like the cheerleader of the team, which like at first when he said that, I was like really taken aback, like, oh, okay, like I'm not here to compete, fine, like I'm just the cheerleader, right? But then like I took a step back and I like really realized that like that's my role in an athletic space is like I'm not going to be the person that like gives people advice on like how to get better at the physical part of it, but like what I can do is like get people stoked. Like I'm really good. I'm gonna own this. I'm really good at getting people stoked.
You are.
And like I enjoy it. Like I have fun with it. And so like this year in climbing content for me, you and I have talked about this, but like what does Court Climbs stand for? Court Climbs is making videos that get people stoked about climbing.
Yes.
It's not a climbing channel. Like Court Climb, it's hilarious.
No,
it's like it's not necessarily a climbing channel.
Right. You're not here to learn specific techniques. You're not. It's
No. And what I will say is, this is kind of ironic just with the timing of things. In the winter, I do have to dabble in the like, let's do this challenge space, or like I have a collab coming up with Joel Brady. If you watched like a previous episode of the podcast, I have a collab coming up with him on like projecting techniques. But the distinguishing factor is I have to be genuinely interested in it.
Yes.
And I think that's like a big thing that I've learned on YouTube this year. I wrote down some of the changes that I've made on my channel.
Yeah.
And I just want to like list them out because until you asked me what's changed on YouTube this year, I had no idea that I'd changed anything this year. Like I knew that I'd made improvements.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that I'd changed anything. And so like you asking me the question was really cool. So like this year I changed the frequency of publishing. I for 2 years published a video every single week. For 2 years, and I didn't give myself a break, and I was just making things that it started to feel very mediocre.
Yeah.
So I changed it to every other week. Less vlog style videos, but I still love the vlog.
Yeah.
I love the vlog.
Yeah. Vlogging.
I love
awesome.
watching vlog style videos.
Yeah.
If I'm watching YouTube, it's because I want to feel like I'm in someone's space.
Yes.
I moved the podcast to a separate channel. I think that was like one of the biggest.
That was big.
And I just moved it. I just moved it overnight. Like I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't go about it any right way. And like, I'm not joking. I love that I did that.
Yeah. Same.
I put on here, I figured out what I want to make. And then I put kind of in parentheses. And then I said, or maybe rather, what I don't want to make.
Yeah.
Which I think is just as important. And I think that was a huge step for me this year is like figuring out, okay, what is it that I stand for? If you're a creator and you're listening to this, I would highly, highly encourage, write out a list of what a dream project looks like for you. That's what I did.
Yeah.
And then I made one. It was so fun. And I made the hell video and it was so fun.
Incredible.
That was a dream project. I felt really lucky. And then taking breaks. Last year was the first year that I took like a full month-long break.
Yeah.
That was just
huge change.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
And then the last thing, if I had to like pinpoint something that's changed this year, is I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Like, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist, and this year I have tried to lean more towards that way.
Interesting. You lean towards perfectionism.
Towards perfectionism.
Wow. Okay.
So I feel like me not being a perfectionist in the past was like a defense mechanism to not putting out content in general.
Yeah.
So it was my defense mechanism of saying like, oh man, if I try to make this perfect, like I'm never gonna put it out, so let's just put it out. And I think that's great. I want to stress, I think that's really good.
Yeah.
But once you get to a certain level where you're consistently producing content, and that effort that you're taking to make that content is like now like low level effort for you.
Yeah.
You gotta step it up.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's my like biggest takeaway from this year is instead of just like, I used to make videos, I used to get through the edit, I would watch it once and I'd be like, yeah, it's good. Yeah. And I'd like export it and everything and put it out. And this year I've learned to be patient and like.
Yeah, you ask for feedback.
I do.
You run thumbnails by people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, if I had to choose one thing that, it's hard to choose one thing, but if I had to choose one thing that I think that I've done this year, it's like being patient.
Yeah.
Because this is what I realized, when you're making things, in the moment when you're putting it out, it feels like, okay, I'm just gonna put this out and like it's out there, right? But if you even take like one small extra little step, then now that content doesn't go away.
Right.
So like, it's there. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
if you sit with it for a little bit longer than is comfortable, something, even just like a 2% change can be added, but it makes all the difference in the world.
I color graded something this year.
Yeah.
Thanks to this one over here. I don't know how to do it, but I'm trying it.
Yeah, and you're great at it. Like,
I don't think I am. I need help.
No,
but yes.
But you're trying it.
I'm trying it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing is like, I think interestingly enough, 1 year ago when we had this conversation, you sparked a idea in my head of doing things that you haven't done before because you don't think that you're that type of a person. And the thing that I'm referring to is I'm not a person that climbs alone. But what if I was?
Right, yeah.
And this year, the question was, how did climbing change my relationship with YouTube?
Yeah.
I tried something in climbing. I saw that when you do something outside of your comfort zone, even though it's hard or even though maybe it's not a person that you see yourself as, that was beneficial.
Yeah.
And I took that concept and I applied it to YouTube.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not naturally a person that's perfectionistic doesn't mean that I can't at least try to be.
Right.
And I've had such a great year with climbing and YouTube this year.
Good.
So.
Oh, that's amazing.
So yeah.
I agree. Like as a bystander, but also like at times lucky enough to be a creative part of it. This has been just a fun year to watch for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I am my happiest when I'm creating with other people. And that's just like,
yeah.
It's
important.
not surprising.
No, not at all, but it's important to know about yourself.
Yeah. All right,
Wow.
next Hannah question.
Okay.
That's not the right page. All right. So I want to talk about the arena.
Oh, heck yes.
Okay, so the arena. What time is it?
Oh my, I feel like
we already forgot to.
4:30.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the arena.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay. It is one of the things that I am most excited about.
Really?
In my climbing for next year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes me excited.
Yes. I live 5 minutes from it, and I had dabbled in the past. Like when I first started climbing, I went up and was just like, oh, I've never touched real rock before. Let's give this a whirl. And it was fun, but I kind of just forgot about it. And then there was like the one Women on Walls meetup there. And then you said that you wanted to make a video about it or get people in on like, let's climb this whole thing. And
so the arena, just in case you don't know anything about the arena.
Context is important.
It's this place, it's at Oakwood Park.
Oakwood Park.
And it is an old reservoir, but now it's like a semicircle of a wall. It's like 18 feet tall, 500 and some odd feet around. It's man-made like bricks, stones, and then there's like tennis courts in the middle of it. But yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
So
basically, it looks like an arena, which is why it's called that on Mountain
Project.
There you go. Clearly outdoor climber.
Hannah doesn't have any tattoos, but her first one's gonna be one that says Mountain Project. Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. But yeah, I am beyond stoked for the arena. Like I'm getting a crash pad. There are so many things that I want to do there outside of just complete the entire thing in one go.
Yeah,
like,
you have a vision, bro.
I want to make problems. I want to make bouldering problems.
I made the first problem though.
She did
Well,
make the first
okay,
problem.
I wanted to put a disclaimer. There's probably been many people in the
I'm
past
sure.
that have made problems,
but none of them are on Mountain Project.
none of them are. And the last time we were there, so we've been there twice.
Yes.
Well,
I've
three
been
or
there
four
a couple
times.
Yeah,
I've been there like we've been there a handful of times.
Together we've been there twice, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm just I was actually thinking about like, oh, maybe I'd want to cancel my gym membership in the spring.
What?
Just to
What?
like focus. What? Just to focus on like climbing the arena, which I'm not gonna.
That's a crazy statement from Hannah Phillips.
But like, it's 5 minutes from my house. It is free outdoor climbing. There are endless.
I've accidentally shown Hannah another way to be near her house.
It's just, I don't. It's so much fun, and it's all just slab.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite
that's
style
true.
of climbing, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It's.
Do you think you could send, like, realistically, do you think you could send it this year? Like, the
Yeah.
whole way around if you want to?
I
Yeah.
do. If I want to, I think I'm gonna work on it a lot in the spring and even on warm days in the winter. Like I've popped up there a couple of times since we have done the arena video, which you should go watch on her channel after this. But
Thank you, ma'am.
I've been up there a couple times. I've like worked on specific areas and gotten beta down. And
She got from the Holy Land to Pollock, and if you don't know what that means, like
Go
she
watch
said,
the
go watch the video.
And it's so funny now because doing those sections multiple times and having it fresh in my brain, and even just with the knowledge that like, oh, I could go back and I would still know what to do in certain areas, and there's so much wall. It's the first time I'm getting a taste of like, oh, I can see why people really enjoy projecting ropes, like actual problems outside.
Yeah.
Because it's like having not just the muscle memory, but also the memory of knowing what moves to do when and where the best hold is. Like,
yeah,
it's
intoxicating. Because it's not all like color coded.
It's not all color coded.
Yeah.
It is another layer of the sport that I haven't had a real appreciation for until now. And now I have 540 feet to figure out, and like it's so much fun. It is without a doubt the thing I'm most stoked for in climbing in 2024.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm also excited about it. I really don't think I have any chance of like getting the full thing because I'm barely making progress, but it's fun. It's so fun.
It's so fun, and even if I don't send it all the way through, it's like I just want to know it. I want to know it like the back of my hand. Like I want people. That's the other thing is like I want people, if they know me as a climber, to hit me up at any point and be like, hey, I'm going to be at the arena this day. Like, come climb with it. Like, show us the problems you have made. Like, I just want...
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I want to be like queen of the arena, low-key. I have to send it first.
Yeah.
Currently, Julia...
I feel like Julia has got to be queen of the arena.
Oh, she 100% is, and no one's going to dethrone her. Because, she flashed it. She flashed it in, like, 2.5 hours, 2 hours.
That's nuts.
It's insane.
Shout out Sam and Julia. Y'all just got married.
Congrats.
We love you.
But like I want to like I want that to be my thing in 2024.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll support you on it. Yeah. Oh, Hannah's been joking around that I'm Ascend's newest member, and she like won't stop saying Ascend's newest member. So I'll just be like, okay, Arena Queen. Yeah.
Maybe King is better. I don't think I fully identify as female and like pronouns are she her, but like I don't identify with like queen at all.
Oh hell yeah. That's so funny because I feel the same way.
Okay.
I feel the exact same way as you.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's interesting.
It is weird.
No, I totally. Whenever I have a really good thing happen.
Yeah.
I always think, man, I'm the king of the world.
Same. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love it.
All right. Okay. I also texted you yesterday and said, checkmate, baby boy, which is such a I was just thinking about that. It was BOI, but...
No, but still...
But I meant it as...
Also, if you had called me baby girl, I would have had a literal problem with you, because that is one of my most cringe fest terms. Hate it so much. If I've had significant others call me that, and I'm like, no, you just can't do it. So you said baby boy, and I was like, oh, she gets me.
Different podcast, but baby girl means something different to me. Moving on.
All right. Do you have another question?
Wait. It's your turn. Ask me a question.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So, hold on, let me pull up the list. I forgot this wasn't a note and it was just a picture that I took on my... Okay. So, your next question. Oh, I don't know what... I guess this kind of transitions to what we were talking about with like YouTube and everything, but how do you stay in creative mode?
Okay. So I also wrote down things.
Oh, okay.
Because if I don't write them down, I don't. Right. Yeah. Okay. So here, Courtney's tips to stay in creative mode. Listen, before I say all these things, do whatever you want. Like,
right. Well, everyone has their own method.
everyone
of,
has their own thing. But this is what I found that's worked for me.
Okay.
Number one, if I am not in a creative mood, music. I go to SoundCloud.
Yeah.
This is how I get my music normally, by the way. I've always gotten my music by this. I am not joking. You can say what you want. I think that this is how I get my music. I go to SoundCloud and I type words into the search bar that I feel are the best fit for the vibe of the video or like what I'm personally thinking about or feeling.
Yeah.
I don't mean like styles of music.
No.
I don't mean like
I
mean like
nouns.
shrub.
Yeah.
I mean like a lot of times
Yeah.
a lot of times I actually will type my friends' names that are in the video and then it'll pull up
That's
artists.
Cool.
Or I'll type like memorable things, like for example, when I went to Colorado, there was a climbing gym that had like a brewery next to it. I typed like brewery. I think this is just maybe a me thing, but I think it adds so much to the video.
Yeah.
Like it gets the like vibe.
Yeah. It's another layer of depth that even if you only know that it's like ingrained into the final product.
Yeah, it like means something to me.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I'll do is I'll go try to find new music because I made a video a while back that was so fun for me to make. I think I just titled it something like A Climbing Story, or I can try to put it in the show notes, but essentially it was a video about me going to the Red River Gorge, and we had this terrible, just rainy trip. And that was an experiment video in contrast editing and using a specific song. I found a song and I said, this is going to be its own like separate little, so music.
Yeah.
That's like the number one thing.
Love that.
And I'm a big music guy. See, there we go again. The second thing is exercise, but I put a slash in taking care of myself.
Yeah.
I found often that like when I'm in the biggest creative slump, it's because I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah.
I'm not getting enough sleep, I'm not getting enough exercise, I'm not drinking water. And so like if I feel just like in a rut creatively, I usually step back and like, okay, am I taking care of myself?
Yeah.
Generally, I'm not, and you know.
Good self-awareness.
Yep. Watching old content. Watching my old content, I do it shamelessly. I do it all the time.
Yep.
I think it's so important for people to watch their old content because it reminds you what you stood for when you didn't know shit about algorithms and blah, 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 blah. You just made stuff, and I think it's really important.
Underrated point there. Watching
old content, and I really like to watch the old content with some of my like Ohio friends because some of those videos obviously are most meaningful to me, but I think that they like stand for what I stand for.
Yeah.
Working in the way that feels best. So not forcing myself, like for example, yesterday I was editing something and I was just like, this is not flowing. So I just went and worked on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Like, is it the most efficient? No, but Hannah and I have had this conversation. It's like about momentum.
Yeah.
Like, so just working in whatever way feels best to you, and like, I think there's so many people out there that are like, I'm doing it right now. Like, here's some things that you should do. But it's like, it's not necessarily like, it's just what works for them.
Yeah.
So
well,
like,
it's building your own tool belt. Like these are all the tools in your tool belt.
Yeah.
And other people have to analyze what they pull on normally.
Right.
And what tools they have.
Can you imagine if I tried to force my work style on you and vice versa?
Exactly. It wouldn't work. The momentum would be instantly stopped.
Literally.
And so all of these are designed to like just build the momentum to stay in creative mode. That's
and then
all it is.
The last thing, YouTube, like I cannot say this enough. I love the culture of like being in the YouTube space. This is no knock to like people that make TikToks, Instagram Reels, like any other creative endeavors, but like the game of YouTube, although I hate playing it, genuinely, learning about how to do it in a way that works for me is so fun, and I genuinely, that's how I love to spend my time.
Yeah.
So, plug for Hannah's guild business, but Hannah has like a little guild community where we get together every week, and we'll have like a presentation on a specific topic, and then we kind of can like ask questions of how it pertains to us.
All regarding video.
All regarding video.
Video marketing, every aspect of creating and producing videos. That's like what we coach people on. And
they generously invited me to it, and I have had so much fun with it.
So glad.
Just being a part of those conversations, and it's like, and my second point and last point with, I don't know what point I'm on, but my last point is there are 2 channels that I religiously follow, and I think they're so helpful for people in the YouTube space. One is the editing podcast, because when you strip everything away, if you ask me what I like about all this, it's editing. That's what I love about it. So the editing podcast is really awesome. They have some really cool guests, but like I've just learned so much from that podcast. And then secondly, Nate Black. Nate Black is like, you're not listening to this, but Nate Black is like my YouTube god icon figure. I just love listening to what he has to say. He's like a great mix of motivational and also tips that are applicable. So generally, like, I just stay in the space, you know? And I think that's the best way to like
stay in creative mode. Ingrain yourself in the culture.
Yeah, but like also what I want to make clear is like if it's not exciting to you,
it has to be exciting.
Please don't. Like there's times when it's not fun, but if it's not exciting, those are 2 different things, right?
Yeah, you sometimes have to do some boring or tedious work, but because you have a bigger North Star of what you're working towards, it's still exciting. Like the excitement is what keeps you going through that.
Yeah.
But if it's not exciting, I totally agree.
Yeah, so it's hard to stay creative, and like I know I mentioned it previously, but like breaks are really important. I think at the beginning of like YouTube, I was like in the mindset of like, how hard is it to make a video every week? You know what I mean? But like, yeah, breaks are super important, and no one cares. Like in the nicest way, no one cares if you put stuff out.
Not at all.
People care, but no one cares.
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Next.
Love that.
Next question. So on the same vein, you realize pretty quickly that all Hannah and I talk about is like a combination of climbing and making videos.
Yeah,
We're really boring.
Climbing and making stuff. Climbing and creating. That's like, I don't think that's boring at all. If you think it's boring, you're literally not watching this right now.
Yeah. You're gone, bro. You're gone. So my next question is, you make great climbing reels. Do you have any tips for other people wanting to make good, because there's a lot of people that make climbing reels.
Yeah.
But I still have not quite figured out how to steal your editing.
Oh, interesting.
And it's good.
Thank you.
But I still haven't quite figured it out. So tell me how I can do that.
Okay. Here's the secret sauce. If you follow me on Instagram, I guess I don't really post my reels on my main Instagram. I post them on my climbing Instagram, which is Curly Climbers. Climbers, because my brother at one point climbed and then he dropped out.
I'm sorry, that cracks me up.
Dude, I'm still so pissed about that. But
can you just take the S off?
Yeah, but what if he comes back? I still have hope.
Just add the S. Come on,
so
Mark.
Anyway, that's where I post my climbing reels, and I always set up my camera wider. Yeah, I was gonna suggest that. Good thinking. I always set up my camera, my framing wider than I think it needs to be. So that's number 1. I usually have it at and I just shoot everything on my phone. So I usually have the lens set at either 0.5 or 0.7, somewhere in there. And I still sometimes cut off parts of climbs, which is frustrating. But set up my camera wider than I think it needs to be. And in my editing suite, like sometimes I'll edit on my phone, but because I edit videos for a living, like editing a little climbing reel is nothing. So I use keyframes. I use motion tracking keyframes to track my body around the climb and make sure I'm always centered. And at this point, I know like, oh, it looks best to move the frame when a limb is moving for the next hold and not on a pause moment. Like it creates a nice flow, a nice motion. And if you don't know what keyframes are, it's basically like keeping an image or keeping the framing of your video in one place and then adding another keyframe to move it to a different place. That's like a really tough way to describe it.
If I had to describe keyframes, I would say number one, they're so easy. Like don't let people tell you that they're hard. And then number two, if I had to describe them, I would say basically it's like it allows you to move the video in the editing process rather than in like when you're actually filming.
Rather than moving the camera itself.
So like literally right now I could make it look like, I'm not gonna do this because I'm not editing the podcast anymore, but I can make it look like someone's like moving the camera around right now, even though they're not.
It adds motion if you want motion or zoom effects to your video.
You also cut out things though.
Yeah, I do. I cut
out.
And
that's the part that's tripping me up.
I cut out dead space. So if a climb takes me 1 minute, I will get that down to 42 seconds one way or another. Like and not because I care about the timing of it, but just because I just want to see the collection of motions and the beta that make up a climb. I don't care if it takes me 8 seconds to readjust my fingers on one hold. I'm going to cut out that 8 seconds because I know, okay, hand goes here and then I go for the next one. And like some people might say, oh, it's making you look like a better climber than fine. I just think it makes for a smoother, easier consumption experience.
Right. I think it's all about the purpose of the video. So, because I felt similarly. So, in my long form content, I have just this rule in my head that I don't have any climb last longer than a minute.
Interesting.
Like even just any climb, I don't have it last longer than a minute. Unless I were to specifically make a video where that serves some sort of purpose. But like to your point, I think that what people are interested in when they watch one of your reels is the collection of movements and the specific beta. I don't think anyone is thinking that that's actually how you climb the climb.
No.
And if they are, like, social media is a lie, dude.
No, this is
breaking news on
Courtney, oh my God, this is so funny that you said that because I've been thinking a lot about how like,
this isn't a lie.
No, right. Most of what I see when I scroll is like, is touched up, is face tuned, is like photoshopped, like all of it's fake. And I've never been one to face tune photos. I just don't do retouch or anything. I don't know why. I'm just like fine with how I look and like we'll leave it at that. But cutting out seconds from my climbing reels is probably my version of face tuning.
Yeah.
Like that's just, and it's not because.
Can I ask you something live here? Like
sure, yeah.
Live here.
Exclusive breaking news.
And maybe this is just for the sake of your 42 seconds. I'm so interested. Yeah. So I screamed on one of your posts the other day, what about the top? Why did you cut off the top of this problem? Because you posted the purple one that we were doing.
No, that was the full. Oh, I saw that you commented that. The full video's there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Because I was so confused. I was like, she got to the top of this climb, and then she just cut it off. And in my head, this is my reasoning.
Right.
Hannah doesn't show when she struggles.
Oh,
and so I was thinking, she didn't like that she was struggling on the top because that top was struggly.
Yeah.
And I was
the full video's on there.
Bad for attention, gotta cut it out.
No, the full video's on there.
Yeah.
I cut out.
So you just ignored me. You're like, what is she going on about?
No, I cut out struggle when it's just like a lot of readjusting and stuff. Because I just, who wants to watch
No,
that?
no one wants to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if they do, like, yeah.
Dude, if I really wanted to make myself look good, I would cut out most of the dynos that I do because they're all so sloppy. I would cut out a lot of burly moves because I just don't look good doing them. But like, it's part of the beta. It's part of the climb.
It's interesting because I 100% like I just said, I love your editing and I think that video serves the purpose that it serves, right? But like, to your point about things being like face-tuned and like just everything's fake, right? It makes me wonder if like subconsciously we all think that like we just are so bad at climbing because we look at all these videos that are edited.
Probably.
And we see them and we're like, oh man, we like are really struggling on all this. But like, it's not real. I just want to like emphasize it's not real.
Yeah, I cut out on average.
I don't know why I'm so paranoid.
No,
that
I know, because there's like a message that keeps whatever.
It's fine. Yeah. Sorry, we're just looking at the camera and paranoid that none of this is recording, but I'm sure it's fine.
Blue.
We're good.
We're good. Yeah, no, it's all like on average. I probably cut out anywhere from 8 to 12 seconds of my climbing videos.
Right.
And it's all just dead space and like pauses in my movement.
I think that I think it's kind of the equivalent of man, there's so many ways we could go with this, but like for me, I cut out any time that I am feeling insecure about my body. And not any time, but times that I'm feeling extra insecure about my body for whatever reason, I will cut out. And I've struggled back and forth between should we leave this in to show that people are real and like positive examples of what it means to be a human with skin, or should I cut it out because I know that this is something that will affect me every time I see this, and I won't feel confident about it. And sometimes I leave it in, sometimes I don't. But yeah, it's like, it's one of those things, man, I'm gonna be really honest, and I know for people that are listening to this that don't create videos, you might be thinking to yourself like, oh, well, if I did it, I would be 100% genuine and raw and real and honest. You cannot.
No.
You cannot be 100% genuine, real, raw, and honest online. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to be an accurate version of yourself, but like it just, everything you see online is fake. The internet is not real.
Yeah. No, it's all fake.
So,
even the biggest creators who are most well known for being so raw and so real, and they put everything out, that they put their mental breakdowns on the internet. It's literally 6% of their life. It's a tiny slice of their life. It's all just.
I've thought about that a lot.
I mean, we've talked about the Emma Chamberlain interview that she did with Colin and Samir, and it was like 3 hours long of her sharing her process and a lot about her life and her struggles with depression and anxiety and stuff. And it's just like, the world thinks they know who you are because you're one of the biggest creators of our generation, and you just have no idea. You have no idea.
Yeah. Was that a you or a me question?
That was, I think it was, I can't remember.
I said you make great climbing reels.
Yeah, the reels.
So it's your your turn. All right.
Okay. We're gonna pivot. This is happening again because we, in the last year, have gotten...
meaning the podcast.
Yes, this podcast episode. We, in the last year, have gotten really close.
Yeah.
You are one of my absolute dearest friends.
Thank you. Same.
And not only that, but I rave about Courtney and Courtney's friendship to other people in my life because you are... If there was an Olympic category for being the best friend that a person could be, you would take gold 10 out of 10 times. Like,
thank you.
You are so good at being a friend. And I mean that you're a great listener. You genuinely care about making people feel seen and heard and loved, and you're so attentive, and it's like, it is one of the greatest privileges of my life to have you as a friend. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And so I want to know, as someone I am dubbing like one of the best friends in the world, what is your philosophy on friendship?
My philosophy on friendship.
Yes.
So we wrote down our question. First off, like I feel like that's a big thing to say and just like brush past, but like, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we can get into this a little bit more in this philosophy, but one of the things that Hannah and I have talked about is like the dynamic of not just a friendship, but like our friendship specifically. And she knows that it's really important for me to like have validation of how much of a friend that we are.
Yes.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
But my philosophy on friendship. So I saw this written down and I was hoping that you'd give me a little bit more of like some more structure, but it's Hannah, why would there be structure? So I have a few thoughts. Number one, I think that being a good friend is the best use of your time that you can possibly. It's just point blank.
Yeah.
Being a good friend to people is the absolute best use of your time. You can achieve things in your career. You can achieve things in your sport. You can achieve whatever you want. But if you're not a good friend to people, like
that's what people will remember.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares, right? Okay. Secondly, my mom growing up, she had this saying that if you every day do at least one thing to make someone else's life better, then like you won that day.
Yeah.
Like you did it.
I love that.
And that was like really huge for me growing up, because even on the worst day like that you had personally, you could still win the day.
Yeah.
By doing something for someone else, right? And my mom did that over and over and over and over. My mom is like a really selfless person in that way. So third, not all friends are created equally. And so when I was younger, I used to think that I had to be friends with everyone and that everyone had to like me. Like it actually was quite a problem. I still struggle with the like everyone has to like you thing. It's not people. The truth is that not everyone will like you, and that's honestly a good thing if you're like standing for something. But I think there's no logical way to be very, very good friends with everyone.
Right.
And so that brings us to choosing your friends.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by this, by the way, because I don't want to make myself sound like, I'm not friends with anyone. Because I think you and I both live by a similar philosophy of like, kindness is above all else. Like we
yeah,
always,
but as soon as you start talking about kindness, you're a dick. You know what I mean? It's like not you.
No.
But
no,
continue.
No. But if you're gonna be nice to people generally, like you just want to leave people with a good impression. How do you choose your friends? Like how do you decide who to invest your like loving friend energy into?
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's different for everyone. So depending on the type of friend. So like, I think you have to. We've talked about this in the past, but like in choosing a romantic partner, and that's the other thing is I find really big similarities between choosing a romantic partner and choosing friends. I think really there's not much of a difference.
Yeah.
I really
Courtney,
don't think there's
I'm
much
not even
of a
lying
difference.
to you. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I've talked with Soph about this before. Like, I'm single right now. I am literally not going to date anyone who doesn't make me feel the way that you make me feel, like as a friend,
that's
like
really
as
sweet.
cared about and loved as a person. Like it just,
And as you
that is
put
the
in
gold standard.
And as you've put in my vocabulary, as you should. So, choosing friends, I think, if I'm being completely honest, it's half luck and it's half choosing. So the meeting the people and figuring out if you vibe with them, I feel like for me it's just like, do we vibe or do we not?
Yeah.
And then the second part of it is, are you willing to put in the energy and effort that it takes towards making a really strong connection with that particular person? And secondly, are they willing to put that energy back into you?
Yeah.
And if you struggle with any part of that, like if you're not willing to put in, say your particular friend that you're trying to be friends with is like consistently doesn't put the effort in. Do you enjoy their company enough to try and like match that, right? And obviously it's going to be up and down. My last like point on friendship. Oh, and the other thing, and I don't really like talking about this because I feel like it makes me feel like, oh, I'm up on a pedestal or something, but I am really choosy with my friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that I hold my friends to very high standards, but it's because I would expect them to hold me to those same exact standards.
Yeah.
And if you're friends with me, it might feel like a lot because I just want you to know that you're so loved. Like, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
My last point on friendship is that just because you think that like being a good friend means one thing for you doesn't necessarily mean that that's what being a good friend means towards the person you're trying to show like love or affection towards. And for example, so like it's all about listening to people's needs. And for example, like the other day, I know that one of our friends, their biggest fear is that one of their biggest fears is that work will always be put ahead of them. I make it a point, no matter what work event I'm at, if I get a call from that friend, I pick up the phone. I've picked up the phone in the middle of work things for them because I never want them to feel like I'm putting work ahead of it. If you called me and I was at work, I wouldn't pick up the phone. Because that's not...
because I've never expressed that as an anxiety or like a,
There's another friend that we have that one of the big things that they've expressed to me is that they always feel like they're taking care of someone else. They're not, like no one's ever taking care of them, right? And so when that friend gets sick and no one's there to take care of them, you take care of them. You know, so like, I don't know, it's...
But even just like in our dynamic, I am very much a lone wolf by nature.
I know you are.
Of course you know, the only reason why we're so close is because you were so attentive early on and understood like, she's an introvert, she likes to have her own space and her own time, and she likes to connect one-on-one, like, okay, let's optimize, if I want to get to know her, let's optimize the friendship for that. And like, obviously, now it's so much more flow, give, take, whatever. But like, you were so intentional. It was so just thoughtful, and not in like a, you know, weird way at all. Just like, you were so good at recognizing where people are and meeting them where they're at. And showing your love in those ways. And it's amazing to watch, but it's like, truly, I feel so lucky to call you a friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really nice.
But yes.
It's funny because that's just life, man.
I know.
That's just life.
I know.
That's the whole point of it, right? I don't know. It's the whole point of it. And I I really think that I could, like, there's so many more things that I could say about friendship, but at the end of the day, the best way to know, you asked about choosing your friends, would you ask that person to take care of your pet?
Oh, interesting.
Because it shows a couple of things. And I know this specifically because when I was new to Pittsburgh and we weren't really friends yet, I was going to ask you if you would watch my cats, but it felt like that would be a bother to you. And that's how I knew that we weren't friends yet.
Interesting.
Like, I knew that we weren't really friends.
Right.
But, you know.
Yeah.
So, and do you trust that person enough to, like, take care of your cats, let them into your home when you're not there?
Yeah.
Like, do you expect that they'll send you pictures to, like, you know?
That's so interesting.
Yeah. If you trust someone to take care of your...
That's a good way to gauge
your
it.
pets. And there's also, I want to be, like, really clear, there's also, like, differences between being a really, really good friend to someone and just being friends.
Yeah,
like,
but being a good person to people generally.
Yeah. But, I think everyone's different in the, like, what they need from a friendship, obviously. Like, for me, what I need from a friendship is just, like, emotional intimacy. Like, like what we're doing right now. Just, like, the ability to have a conversation and reliability.
Yep.
Those are, like, two huge things for me.
Yep.
But yeah, I really like that question.
I'm glad. I just wanted to highlight what I think your biggest strength is and what you've expressed to me before as being, like, your purpose in life is to just be a good friend and let your friends know that they're loved. Like, I don't know who on this channel is, like, friends with you personally, but, like, that is who Courtney is. If you don't know her personally, she is, like, the best friend you could ever have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of my biggest weaknesses is taking compliments publicly. I don't really know what Soph meant by this question. She, like, started talking about Soph, if you're listening, you started talking about, like, climbing from an artistic perspective.
Yeah.
And then she said something about FA, and then we laughed and then she said, I don't really know.
No, I mean, I think I've mentioned, I know I've talked to you before about how the climbing, like, just the aesthetics at FA, the head setter there, Brad, shout out Brad, is very aesthetically driven, which I think she was probably getting at. Like, he cares a lot about lining up holds with particular creases in the wall, and, like, he wants the climb to look nice as well as feel nice, which, as also a visually driven person myself, I so appreciate that about the setting there. And FA is, I love all the gyms in Pittsburgh. ICB has really grown on me, actually, in the last year. But I love FA and the setting style there.
Yeah.
And I think that is one thing that gym climbing has that outdoor climbing doesn't.
Nope.
It's just pretty colors.
Absolutely not. You have not seen.
Yeah, I
You
totally
have not seen the things
totally
that the
haven't.
outdoor world
no.
holds. No, are you getting my reference?
100%. Like, obviously, the majesty of nature is a whole other
I'm sorry,
ballgame.
what? The majesty of nature?
Is a whole other ballgame. But I do, one of the aspects of climbing that I really appreciate, that I can enjoy in a super casual form, like indoor climbing, is the aesthetics of part of it. Yeah. So that's an interesting question from Soph.
Yeah. All right. Does that count as a real question or
Totally.
Okay.
I mean, or I don't know. Is there another direction you want to go?
So I have a couple more. So I have, you've mentioned this a couple times, like, the fear of climbing.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be really interesting when you do start rope climbing, because it's even more, like, that's a big part of the climbing, whereas right now with, like, indoor bouldering, you're already telling me that, like, towards the top of the wall you're getting scared.
It's just risky moves high up with no harness.
Right.
And it's interesting too, because I don't know if you have this bouldering, but there are days, and they'll like pop up every month or 2 months where I'm just climbing scared all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I'm shaky today.
Yeah.
And I don't know what causes it, and I try to like breathe through it and whatever, but at this point I've had enough of those days where I'm just like, okay, we're climbing scared today, that's fine.
Yeah. Do it scared.
Yeah, do it scared. And like I will, like, sometimes even if it's not a scared climbing day, I will still get nervous if I have a risky move high up. But ultimately, I climb scared the least whenever I'm at one of the ascent locations, because I just trust their pads a lot more.
You would hate my old gym.
Very cushy pads.
I went back to my old gym, and I like
nothing.
It was so concrete. Like,
yeah.
In early, this is for like the OG Crag Chat fans. In early episodes, Anna and I talked about like the differences in padding, and I was like, it's not that bad. I take that back. Scratch that.
Yeah, if a gym is not as cushy as Ascend, I'm probably going to be a little bit more scared.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I just think it's like, I think it's part of it.
Yeah. Something interesting that you said to me was I was talking about like taking falls on like rope climbs.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I just need to get better at falling, which I do. And we were texting, and Hannah said, how do you get better at falling? And I said, you just do it more, which I just need to take more falls.
Yeah.
I really do. Ugh, scary.
Yeah.
All right, what's your next question?
My next question for you is, let me pull it up. Oh man, I don't know.
Can I just say, I love that we both wrote lists of questions in a specific order, like clearly trying to have.
We've been jumping
around, both of us, because you gotta do what feels. You gotta do what feels right at the time.
The conversation has to flow. I actually didn't write these in a specific order. I was just like, what would I like to talk to Courtney about? And then it was just like, here. Yeah.
All right, what is your next one?
So my next question is, a couple months ago, I talked to you about the power of the wink. And this has two meanings. So the power of the wink in real life is a physical wink. Courtney, would you like to demonstrate?
So I can't wink apparently without like moving my head and opening my mouth. Maybe. Wait. I don't know.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. It's a podcast, so if you're only listening, I'm trying to wink and apparently doing it in.
But I fully endorse the power of the wink, like the physical, real life wink. Like if someone winks at you, you are instantly like more charmed by that person.
Oh, 100%. And I agree with this.
The power of the wink, if you're slick enough to pull off a really good wink in just a casual set. Oh my God, like.
And it's not even necessarily, it 100% is in a romantic context, but it's not even necessarily in a romantic context. If like, say some like older person, like a waitress or something, goes, enjoy your meal, and winks at me, oh my gosh, endearing.
I'm in love with you.
Yeah, you're great.
Yeah, you're great.
I know that you don't like baby girl, but if like an older person, once again like a waitress, says like baby, like to me, like says like enjoy your meal,
I like
baby.
Baby's fine. Baby is fine.
Baby girl.
Gross. Like never.
Oh man.
Anyways,
so the power of the
power of the wink is like so real and tangible.
She called it a panty dropper when she was describing it to me.
But the other meaning of a wink is what I've described in the past as life flirting with you. So it's not a person, but it's a synchronicity or a coincidence or something that makes you go, oh, that was a little moment of magic. Like it's life flirting with you.
Like a weird coincidence. Like for example, earlier in the podcast I was talking about music. this is when I started believing in the winks.
Yeah.
So I was really skeptical of the wink thing, and I still am. I want to put that out there.
Of course.
I still am. I think they're largely confirmation bias.
Oh yeah.
But the same as a placebo pill, it doesn't hurt anything.
No, it doesn't hurt. It just makes life more fun and more like. It's so damn delightful.
Yeah.
Whenever a wink happens, you're like, oh.
That. So, an example. The other day, I was talking to Hannah about, we make up these stories about this crag troll, which, as you do with your friends.
Of course.
So there's this crag troll, and I said to Hannah that the crag troll likes strawberries. Like, that was one of the things, right? And she was like, oh yeah, and his name was Solomon. Hannah named him Solomon.
Yeah.
So as I'm looking up SoundCloud music, I look up Solomon. And I go to an album, like there's a billion songs named Solomon, and I'm like, oh, this one looks good. And I click on the album that Solomon's in, and I listen to it, and it's like, it's not the best, but like, it's not the worst. I click on it enough to intrigue me to look at the rest of the album. And I kid you not, the song underneath Solomon was called Strawberries. And like, I know you might think like, oh, your computer listens to you or your phone. No.
It's
like,
not that
this
at
was
all.
music that was made like, I think it was made like years ago too.
Yeah.
So that's an example of a wink. And ever since Hannah's pointed it out to me, I've noticed more of them, which I'm well aware
it's just coincidence.
But it's fun.
It's so fun. It makes life so fun, and they're meaningless. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. Is like they don't have to mean anything.
Yeah.
It is purely. Here's my other favorite way of thinking about it. It's to remind you when you encounter winks and when you experience winks, you're reminded that we live in a cheeky little universe and not a big scary universe.
Yeah.
That's like,
if I had to put it in like my terms, it's it's a reminder that life is so good.
Life is so good.
Life is so good. Yeah.
So those are wings. But I wanted to like, I also wanted to get your perspective because this is a fairly new concept that we have talked about in the last couple months, but it's something that
you've always thought about it.
I've always thought about it. Like always, my whole life, I didn't know. I only stumbled upon like the wink terminology or started referring to them as that.
Yeah.
When I was like in high school, but my whole life I was like, oh, coincidence, lucky moment, whatever.
Also, man, I'm scared to say this. I also think, I'm so scared. I also think that your sister, being able to have experiences that are paranormal.
Yes.
The reason I'm scared to say it is because I haven't yet met Kate, but man, it sounds like she's an interesting character in the best way.
Yes.
Just in the fact that like I feel this is what I mean by that.
Yeah.
If she can do the things that you've said that she can do, what else can she do?
I know, yeah.
Like that's why I'm scared.
Totally.
But
no, she only uses her powers for good.
Yeah. but the reason I bring her up is because I feel like growing up with someone like that sways you to look for
notice.
Yeah.
Because I've never thought that I have any sort of paranormal powers.
You're not out here being like Twitches or something? No. Okay.
No, but winks are fun.
They're fun.
They're so delightful.
Yeah. So, if you watch the Ascend Erie video, then you'll know that there was a reference to a wink in it. That's what it's about. I don't know if this is one of your questions that you're following. Were you gonna end with like what you're excited about for in YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was also. All right. So, let's go this way. So, what are you excited about in climbing YouTube? I want to know.
So, in climbing YouTube, I'm excited about a couple of things. number one, I'm excited to see what you do this year because I think.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited too.
Yeah, I think like you've been at it for long enough, and you also have created enough of a home here in Pittsburgh that I'm like, oh, you can do a lot with what you have here and like the community here. But also, I just think you have really good ideas. So I'm excited to see what you do in climbing YouTube. I'm excited to see if I have a place in climbing YouTube because I genuinely love a lot of climbing content, but none of it is quite how I would make it if it were up to me. And
man, sometimes we are similar.
So I'm excited to see if I can incorporate climbing into my other creative content. That
Hannah's got some ideas.
I do have some ideas.
I've always thought 100% that if you started a climbing channel, that it would like take off without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's what go ahead.
But just because you're not you specifically, anyone, just because you would be good at something doesn't feel like it's the right fit for
100%,
you.
100%. And that's what I think about a lot too, is like, I literally make videos for a living. I have a good eye for visual aesthetic things, and I love climbing, and I'm improving at climbing. So pairing those three together, it's like, okay, we could do something with that, but like I said, I don't want it to be challenges. I don't want it to be, I don't know.
Yeah.
It needs to be my own formula for something cool. So I'm excited for that. And then I think the other thing is I'm excited to see who else you collaborate with this year, because I know you have the collab.
So what you're excited about in climbing YouTube is literally just pretty much my channel.
Because you're
that's really sweet.
My favorite. Like, sorry. I love so many climbing YouTubers.
We're friends. Like, get over it.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Who do you watch in climbing YouTube though? Like, is there anyone you watch regularly?
Anna's channel. I love her. So I know she's like an elite outdoor climber. I think her indoor content is so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I love Josh Rundle's channel. His is like more. It's not content that I would make myself, but I'm so glad that he's making it because he has the perfect personality and goofiness for the type of content he's making. It's awesome. And I love Hannah Morris, and her content has changed so much over the years.
Yeah, so much.
But I just.
Do you think? This is my pitch to you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should do this, but I've had this idea in my head. I don't know if I ever told you.
Okay.
So you make a channel. It's called The Other Climbing Hannah.
Oh my god.
It's literally called The Other Climbing Channel, or The Other Climbing Hannah.
Yeah.
Because you know that if people were like, yeah, there's like this girl, she has like a climbing channel, blah, blah, and people would be like, oh yeah, Hannah Morris. And they'd be like, no.
The Other Climbing Hannah, yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Thanks.
That's really good.
Yeah.
If I did make, so that's ultimately, that was like gonna be my last note, is I don't see myself ever having an exclusive climbing channel.
Yeah.
I think I want to come up with creative ways to incorporate climbing into the other domains that I already occupy. Like I talk about video and making videos and video marketing all the time. I talk about art. I want to incorporate climbing into those other things. But the Other Climbing Hannah, that'd be so perfect.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah. All right, so I feel like I gotta talk about what I'm excited about in climbing YouTube. So obviously, like, I'm really excited to watch what other creators do in the space. Yeah. Like, I feel like that goes without saying. And I watch a wide variety of climbing content across YouTube. I do agree, like, I love Anna's channel. I just, like, I think that it, like, it was cool because I got the opportunity to, like, meet her. She was in Pittsburgh briefly, and, like, we got the chance to chat for, like, really briefly. And, like, I just sensed in those few minutes that I had at the gym that, like, we would have a lot to talk about. About.
But you guys have been, like, internet friends for a while.
Loosely, yeah. I'm excited. I wrote a list.
Yes!
So I'm excited for the winter things that I'm doing. So we're doing a series where my friend Sydney and I try to climb all the V3s. Like it's like a little challenge thing. Normally I stray away from challenge videos because I don't honestly usually enjoy making them. And two, my audience doesn't seem to really resonate with them. But this is actually an exception because I think it's like a fun. It's a way. Have you guys seen the meme where it's like there's not enough enrichment in my pen to like keep me engaged? This is literally my physical embodiment of that. It's winter. There's not enough enrichment. Like this is what I gotta do, right? Because I can't climb outside. There's not enough. I also have a series a video coming up with Joel Brady, where we're gonna go through some projecting tactics, which I feel like just incredibly privileged to get projecting tactics from like a 5'14" climber, and he's just like
ridiculous.
Sharing knowledge with me, which is really cool. Once again, also on the cut, like it's a little bit on the cusp of like the court climbs realm because it is kind of falling into that like here's some tips for climbing, but I also like
you're genuinely interested in it.
I'm genuinely interested. The other thing is that I think that there's something to be said for like how do I want to put, like, it's not all like physical tactics. And I really want to like explore that mental space. Secondly, warm weather. I'm excited for warm weather to make more Pittsburgh-centered content and more New River Gorge-centered content. That's like my primary beginning of the year focus for videos. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited that the podcast is going to be more chill. I'm really excited that the podcast is just going to be more like, let's not edit, let's just hang out. And also, like, I have one guest that I am really excited that they're going to be on the show. But I think I'm going to be scaling back on guests that I don't know and just making it more of like people that I know already. Because I think, once again, there's so many podcasts out there that talk to well-known climbers. I'm not going to do that as well as those podcasts. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully a trip to Rumney, which is in like New England states. I really like making content about places that I haven't been before because it feels very fresh and exciting. So I'm very stoked on that. I'm excited to learn more about like just what making better videos looks like. Like I have so much to learn. My videos are not technically sound by any means. And so specifically audio, I really want to work on audio this year because I think audio is like a huge thing. And then last but not least, so like two things here. I'm excited about things that I don't even know about yet. And the best example is like I could sit down right now, write out an entire list of all the content that I want to make this year, and I could like force it, right? And I could come up with like 2 videos a month. But that just doesn't work for me. I think the thing that keeps Court Climbs ticking is like that it comes from such a place of genuine curiosity. And I've maybe said this quote before just because I find Alexi Pappas, she's like an Olympic runner, former Olympic runner. She has some really, in her book Bravey, she has some really like great quotes. She has said, when you do things from a place of curiosity and gratitude, that is a great place to start. And I feel so strongly about that with Court Climbs. Just a place of curiosity and gratitude for this experience, you know? But then secondly, the thing that I'm really excited about, I don't quite know how this is going to work yet. I'm sure no one really cares except for me. I'm going to start putting Easter eggs in my videos.
Let's go.
And so these are going to be both community Easter eggs and then also specifically Easter eggs for Hannah.
Yes.
And
oh my God.
I'm so excited about it.
Winks. So many winks.
That's not a wink. That is like deliberate. Just because I think that at the end of the day, life is all about making fun things with your friends. So why not, you know? But I'm excited about climbing. I'm excited about climbing YouTube. I also have like a personal goal, like outside of YouTube, to like really try to get in great shape this year, like physically. I've kind of like, this year has been a big year of getting out of physical shape, just because it hasn't been a bad year. It's just been a year. There's just been a lot going on, lots of changes. But I'm really excited to like try and make a bigger effort towards getting in a little bit better physical shape, which I think is a great goal to have.
Yes.
But yeah. What else do we want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know.
It's dark. No one climbs problems in the dark.
And we've been here for 5:36.
So I think first off, thank you for listening to this. If you made it to this point,
I can't wait.
Do you think there will be?
I can't wait to see the retention on this.
If there's anyone that's made it to this point, what should we have them comment? We should have them put something in the comments.
There isn't. Put the winky face emoji in the comments.
Yeah, put a winky face emoji in the comments. That would be so confusing to like people that.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winky face emoji in the comments.
Yes.
If you've gotten to this point. Yeah, we're probably gonna go eat grilled cheese.
I'm so excited.
This is we do a thing called the wrap up every month, and we normally make wraps, but we're gonna go eat some grilled cheese for a holiday wrap up. So, thank you for listening.
Thanks for having me a second time.
You're welcome. Yeah. And with that, because there's no editing, this ending is really awkward, but we'll catch you later.
Yay, we did it.
We did it.